Do I want to offer some conclusions before I end? Yeah, I think so. Here's a few things I would say. I mean, it's pretty obvious after all of this, I think that I don't think Charlie Kirk was a very good representative of conservative thought. I think he was actually pretty poor at representing conservative thought. There are much better ways to think conservatively than some of the things, at least on the race issue. This is what we've been focusing on. On the race issue, I think there are far better representatives killed his listeners by presenting things the way he did. And I think he does not accurately demonstrate the most careful and thoughtful of conservative thinking on race issues. I don't agree with the most conservative thinking on racial issues on a number of points. I think that's also been clear over the course of this video. But I think the um, when they get as misrepresented as they do, it doesn't help to say things in a way that makes it even more likely that it would be misrepresented. And I mean, it just looks to me like he was trying hard to say things that were so provocative and over the top that it makes it easy for his opponents to misrepresent him. And that is on them. They shouldn't be doing that. I think that's immoral. I think it's a violation of the Ninth Commandment. It's certainly false witness. They should be working harder to try to understand what he's saying in context, to understand the view that they disagree with on the right, and realize what's actually motivating it is a legitimate moral principle that's being wrongly absolutized, and but nevertheless is well-meaning and coming from a real moral principle that's good. Uh, I don't think they're working very hard to try to do that, and I think that's on them. That's wrong for them not to do that. But the the partisan moment that we are in makes it really hard for people to overcome those biases and those partisan biases. Makes it really hard to even try to understand what someone else thinks when they think something that's different from you. So I teach an entire class where the theme is how do we get along and interact across these kinds of differences where people disagree with us. And I think when students are set up to do that well, they do it well. The way I teach my philosophy classes, the way I teach my race class, the way I teach my um, ethics class for engineers and computer scientists. I've had students come up to me and say, I've never seen anyone present that issues those way. I actually understand now that why someone would care about DEI when I just thought it was this awful thing. They come from they go through a particular presentation of it and they see it as woke indoctrination, and then they go through my presentation of it and think, oh, now it all makes sense. I can get why people think that way. And these are people who don't abandon their conservative principles. They just finally listened to how the argument is presented by people who disagree with them, and they finally got it. It's the same thing. And there's certainly I've encountered people on the left who don't know how to hear things that are different from their view. They think that I mean they would there are things that that they accuse of being microaggressions or things like that when it's just I mean they're unwilling to engage with the complexity of a moral case that doesn't fit their narrative. But I've found that with the majority of college students that I interact with over 20 years of teaching these kinds of questions, people who start out on the political left who then go through my presentation of these questions can do much better at understanding the conservative positions that they disagree with. And those are skills that we don't teach. They're skills that social media tries hard tries hard. I mean, social media isn't a thing with intentions, right? But the conditions of social media make it extremely hard for us to learn to do these kinds of things. The like button was introduced on Facebook, and the extreme positions were immediately elevated in everyone's feeds. And and we don't see the left, we don't see liberal thinking if we're on the right. We surround ourselves with um, people who think like us. We block the people who disagree with us. We're not even understanding of what they actually believe, right? And I mean, it happens with my children. It happens with people that I know and care about a lot. This is a real phenomenon that actually happens. And I'm at the point now in my teaching career where it's one of the things that highly motivates me to try to do something about. And I think teaching classes that I teach the way I teach them is part of that, but videos like this can help serve pursuit of better understanding of each other. We can still criticize people. I offered a number of critiques, both of Charlie Kirk and of his interpreters. I'm still going to criticize the things that are being said, but we have to treat each other as people. We have to recognize that the other person on the other end is often well-meaning. They're coming from some moral principles that are maybe slightly different than what we're coming from, but are still well-meant. And there's some background behind it that makes sense to them. And if we can't at least do that, then we're not treating them as a human being. We're treating them as an animal who is horrific and worthy of what happened to Charlie Kirk. He was killed because people saw him as a hater. I don't think Charlie Kirk was a hater. I really don't think that's an accurate description of him. And I think, but he had views that a lot of people on the left don't like, and there are reasons they don't like that reasons that I don't think he understood all that well. But I don't think they understand his reasons. And how do we move forward from that? Well, we have to do the kind of thing that I've just been doing. We have to look carefully at what people say, try to interpret them in context, try to understand their motivations, where they're coming from, why they think the thing that they're thinking. And we have to do that, especially with people who disagree with us, or we're not really being honest. I think there's a lot of dishonesty in our political discussions, and we're not helping matters when we just forward retweet memes like this kind of stuff without critically looking at it and thinking it through. So hopefully this we can find ways to get beyond this, but that's where we are right now, and it requires people to do the kind of thing that I'm doing right now. So all right, well, look, glad I'm back to doing this. Hopefully this will be a thing I can continue doing and producing some content out of my expertise and the thought that I put into things. I like to have an outlet for it, and I haven't had a good outlet for it for a while. So hopefully we will have a regular production of these sorts of things.